Hey, it's Matt Schwartz, the Welding Geek. If you want to see how I made these awesome gauntlets, stay tuned to the video. Alright, I've got my templates printed out, cut out, glued onto the aluminum, and sheared out and bandsawed out already. You've seen that process a bunch, so I figured I wouldn't show it again. We've got a top and a bottom in our hand plates. The first thing I am going to do on these is put them through the slip roller. The gauntlets are actually cone shaped, so I'm going to put more tension on the front side than on the back, so it rolls it in a cone shape. So I'm going to go through that here, just working each piece back and forth until I get to the desired shape. Alright, the next step I have to do here is I'm going to put a set of flats on each side, on the top and bottom. I'm going to be using hinges to attach the top to the bottom, and so I need a set of flats to do that. So that's what I'm going to do in here on the apron break. Just making sure they're symmetrical and that they're going to line up when I attach the hinges to them. So up next here, I'm going to countersink these holes with this rivet squeezer. And why I'm doing that is I want them flush on the outside. I'm going to use what's called a hammer rivet, a countersunk hammer rivet to attach my hinges. So this is a tool that puts a countersink, so it'll be nice and flush on them. And so what I'm doing is I'm squeezing it, it puckers the material one way, and then I'm going to go in with a sander and sand off the little pucker so it's nice and flush on both the outside and the inside. Alright, I'm going to attach my hinges here. I just have a set of piano hinge that I'm going to use. I've got my flat spots so the hinge will sit in nice and flat on both sides, and I'm just going to punch my holes in them and use these clecos to hold them in place for now. I don't want to permanently attach them yet because I'm going to be welding and stuff on my gauntlets here, so I'm going to get the holes drilled and everything lined up all nice and tidy. I'm going to use 1/8 inch hole punch to put the holes in there, and a drill bit as well. So yep, that's what I'm doing here. know I skipped this step on the first part of the video, but I'm going to show it here, just cutting out my templates for the top sections of my gauntlets. They're going to be symmetrical, but they'll have different weapons packages on either side here. So I'm using 3M high strength 90 adhesive, gluing it down to the aluminum, 63 303 aluminum, and squeeging out all the air. Once I get this glued on here, I'll make my way over to the shear, and I'll shear out all my straights and relieve my parts. Easy peasy like. And after this, I'll make my way over to the hole punch. This is our rotary index punch, and it has anywhere from 1/8 inch to 2-inch holes. I think I've explained this before. I'm going to go ahead and punch out all the corners, the straights with the square. Sorry for the camera bugging in and out on like that, but it's nothing I can help for now. I'm just going to relieve this out so the bandsaw makes it easier to cut out on the bandsaw. I'm making my way over to the bandsaw. I'm just going to cut out the straights and the curves, I suppose, whatever's left. Now I'm back over to the apron brake, and I'm going to put the bends on these. And when I get done bending them, they should sit pretty decently on the curved part of my gauntlets. And you'll get a better idea what's going on once I get these all bent up. All these parts were drawn up in AutoCAD first. I've used them multiple times so I know what to expect and how to bend them. Gonna attach some random weaponry here. I'm just kind of feeling this out, kind of winging it, honestly. I've found some parts that I've used in the past, little air guns from Menards that I'm going to attach, and then I'm going to use some tubing and just add little blasters or harpoons or whatever really you want them to be, just stuff that make them look cool and dangerous. So I'm going to go through that here now. Just kind of working through it, not knowing exactly what I'm going to do, but the end product comes out pretty nice, so look forward to that. So attaching all this stuff, I'm just going to go ahead and put some small tack welds just to hold it in place. Should be good enough. I'm just tacking the tubes on the inside here, and then I'll be tacking the other stuff in place. Alright, so I decided I wanted to put a couple beads on the bottom half of this gauntlet just to give it some character, some more character. So I'm going to scribe out some lines on here so it's nice and even, both sides. And then I'm going to take it over to our bead rolling tool, put a couple beads in there. And so when I put the beads in here, it's actually going to spring my part out a bunch. And so I'll just form it over a dolly to get it back to where it needs to be. So as you can see, after I get this, well, even after the first one, you can see how it flattened it all out. And I'll put the second one on here. This tool, you just put a bunch of pressure, you screw it down and pushes a bunch of pressure on it, pushes it into a die, and then it creates a cool bead. But now it's all flattened out, so I'm going to have to see how it's wider. I'm going to have to take it over here and just force it back by hand to get it to line back up. Not a big deal. Now that I have my weaponry on here and I'm liking the way it's going to look, I'm going to go ahead and permanently attach the hinges here just to get them on here. And I'm using what's called a hammer rivet. So like the rivets they use to put airplanes together. And the black little squeezy tool just squeezes the rivet together, and it's nice and flush, and when you stand on it you can't really see them. And the hinges will make it so one will be a hinge point and the other one will be a pin. So you'll be able to take the pin out, spring it open, so you can get your wrist in and out of there. I'm bending over the pin right now, and it will just push in like that, and it will hold it together. So on this back side here, I didn't like how you can see sunshine coming through there, so I'm actually welding it up, and I'll dress it down. Here is kind of the not the finished product, but the slow-mo what it's looking like. I got my back edge dressed down, got all my little tubes and everything all tacked in, and just a good look at what I'm trying to accomplish. Really happy with the result so far. Yeah, so I had a bunch of video of me machining this awesome little basically rocket, and I basically videotaped my back the entire time. So I pulled out the little bits that where I actually show what I'm doing here. I'm making like a rocket like on Boba Fett's gauntlet. I just had this piece that was out of the scrap bin. That was a scrap part, and so I'm repurposing it to make it this cool little rocket looking thing. I'm going to make a little cradle for it, just out of a piece of aluminum. And I'm kind of winging this here. I don't really have a set plan on what I'm doing. So I'm just going to go through bit by bit and make a little cradle for the other side. Alright, now that I have my little cradle done, I'm going to make end caps for these parts just by scribing out the pieces here. I'll shear them out. And I'll make end caps for my little cradle so it looks like it's one piece. And I'll get them all welded together. Alright, now that I got all my welds on, I'm going to go ahead and dress them off. I'm going to use my 80 grit sanding disc and just go through and follow the edges like they should be and get these all smoothed out. Now that I have all my pieces metal finished, I'm going to go ahead and tack the cradle to this top mounting thing first here, and then I'm going to go ahead and use the tin snips and cut it and fit it to the top part of the gauntlet so it fits on there nice and tight. So I'll use the tin snips, snip it out, and then I'll go in with the sanding roll and the angle head and smooth everything out so it looks nice. And then I'll go ahead and tack it into place as well. So I found these two little screen things off of a wireless router that I really like the way it looks. So I'm going to go ahead and drill some holes and get these mounted into place on the sides just to give it some more details in the gauntlet. So I'm going to get them drilled and cleco them on. Just like on the other side, I'm going to go ahead and do the hammer, get these hinges attached with hammer rivets. Same process. On one side will be hinged, the other side will be a pin. Just using the rivet squeezing tool and a drill and just attaching them. The countersunk rivet. I'm going to go ahead and put the beads in the bottom on the other side so it matches. Same process, just using the calipers to make sure that they're going to match from side to side. I'm going to scribe a line down the aluminum with the calipers and then make my way over to the beading tool. Put the couple beads in there and then I'm going to have to form it back to the right shape after that. Alright, I got my gauntlets all sandblasted, looking nice and pretty. I'm going to go ahead and attach this rocket. And how I'm going to do that is drill a hole through the top side and then put a tapped hole in the rocket, and I'll just take a screw from the bottom side and attach it that way. Decided just to hand drill in a bunch of holes all the way around here at even spacing, just to give it some more cool looking features in the little rocket. And then on the one that I need to tap, I'll put it deeper and then tap that hole. Alright, so I'm going to drill this hole in a little deeper. Always be very careful when you're tapping. You can break taps off pretty easily if you don't do it correctly. I'm going to use a 1032 tap and some used tapping oil. Put it in there very carefully. And if you feel any major tension, then just stop, back it out, and start again. Otherwise you'll snap that thing off inside of there and you'll be screwed. So don't do that. So now that I have it tapped, I have the screw that I can just screw in from the back side here. And ta-da, it's attached. It won't fall off. Works pretty sweet. I'm going to do the same thing for the little grates. I'm just going to tap another hole in there. Actually 4 holes. So I'm going to tap the 4 holes and then I'll just use a screw to tighten them down. 1032 as well. These bad boys are just about done. I'm going to go ahead and add foam to the fronts and the backs just to give them depth, and I'll show you that here in the end video. Alright, so this is the finished project. I actually did a couple more things off camera. As you can see, I put foam in here just to make it close better around my wrist and my arm, to make it fit so it didn't rotate on my arm. I also bolted on the screens with the screws, got this bolted on. I also glued on a little calculator thing that when you paint it over, the numbers won't be on there, but there's that. I also forgot about the hand plates. I just rolled a couple beads on these. They'll be attached to my gloves, which the gloves I actually got down here. These are the gloves I'm going to be using. So yeah, that's the gauntlet video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Remember, please subscribe if you're enjoying my videos. Like, comment if you got any questions. And thank you guys so much for those who have subscribed. It means a whole lot to me. We're gaining on up almost to 200, so keep on doing it. Thanks again. My name is Matt Schwartz, and I am the Welding Geek.